today from the Seer's Cave, and what I thought I would do this evening, as I actually can't sleep, so I thought I'd visit myself, is to do a little comparison between the two rune decks that I have. What we have here is the Rune Vision cards by Sylvia Gainsford, and what we have on this side is the Power of the Runes deck, which has a very sort of mysterious author's name. The only name I've been able to find associated with this deck is Voanix. So if you have another name that you are aware of for this deck's author, please do feel free to let me know. And I'm just going to grab quickly the packaging just to illustrate the difference. And what we have here is, this is the box, sturdy box actually, that the Rune Vision cards came in. It's a very, very solid box there. And as I say, I've had the other deck for a long time, so this is a little bit moth-eaten, but this is the Power of the Runes little sort of box that came in, which is a lot thinner, as you can see. There's also quite a difference in the booklets that came with them as well, and the Power of the Runes really just came with a little sort of white book, quite literally. As you can see, it's very well thumbed, and by contrast the Rune Vision book is pretty substantial, as you can see. Now, just moving the packaging and all the other bits out of the way, the most important part obviously is the cards themselves, and you will notice quite a difference as I start to go through these. So I'm just going to move them up here a little bit and show you. I've reordered them pretty much into their normal sort of order, so I can give you a direct comparison, and you'll see immediately the difference in the style. The Power of the Runes deck, which I've had for some years now, actually it was the second divination deck that I ever bought, the first one being the Robin Wood Tarot, which I still have and absolutely loved to death. This uses very colourful images, as you can see. This is the card of Feu, and I don't know if the rune is going to show on there. It might, no, it's not. Basically what you have is you have the rune symbol down here, you have the card number here, and you have the English letter over here, and then you have the name of the card in runic script up at the top. So nowhere in the, well, in fact actually, if you look, you can just about make out the rune symbol there in the flames. Now if you compare that to the same rune in the other deck, the rune symbol itself is here, and what you have down here is you have its name. Try to get that so you can see it. It's not working very well. It's the light that I'm using is very bright. There, just about. You have the name down here, and also the god or goddess that it's associated with. In this case, the goddess Freya, and there she is. And then you have the animals associated with this particular rune, and the plants down here, and if there are any tools or whatever, they are also incorporated. So I'm just sort of going to go through a few of these. Here we have the rune of strength, Ur, or Uruz. There's the Orruk, which is the animal associated with that. And you can see that the Rune Vision cards have quite a different image associated with them. Moving on, we have Thorn, Now this is very interesting because in the one deck we have the god Thor, because Thorn relates to, or Thurizaz relates to his hammer. But over here what we have is the god Loki, and there's quite a different sort of reason why they've incorporated him into this particular card. I do find it quite interesting, the sort of comparisons. In the next card, Anzur, or Anzuz, we have, pretty much in both cards, the god Odin as the bard in this card, and sort of as the wanderer in the other card, and he also has with him his wolf and his 2 ravens and his runic spear. It's really interesting to compare these actually and see what we get. Now here we have Thor appearing in both cards. The interesting thing to note here is that whilst it's sort of rams pulling his chariot in one card, it looks more like a goat to me in the other card. But moving forward, then we have another startling difference. We have a smith, who isn't named in actual fact, working on a piece of metal, piece of iron or possibly steel here in the card of Ken. And then here we have the goddess Skuld, and more symbols of wisdom in this card. And then again you can see the sort of, here we've got the rune symbol shown, which is the cross, the little kiss. This is shown actually in the people in this card, and it's a card of love and also gifts, and there's a feeling here of the sort of connection between 2 people. Whereas the feeling I get over here is more that she's looking at a sort of precious gift that she has. And also we have the symbol of motherhood, which is the cow, down here. Then we have another very striking image in the Power of the Runes. This is the card of Win, or Wunjo, and as you can see it's pretty much a sort of celebration that we've got over here. And compare that to the image in the Rune Vision cards, which show the Valkyries, and what I always take here to be the sort of Horn of Plenty. Then another very different image. Here we have Hagal, or Hagalaz, and you can see that we have the goddess Hela and the dragon Nidhugg, and some skulls. These are skulls down here. So we have this sort of image of sort of death and destruction, really. If you compare that with the Power of the Runes card, we have this very mysterious image. Totally different image. We have the sort of fire down here, and then we have this symbol in the middle. It's not showing up at all on the camera. I don't know if I can maybe get... There we go. You can just about see it. It's this little sort of circling kind of figure, and then it's almost like a spell being cast by this cloaked figure here. There's a snake that's wrapped around the tree, and then up at the top we have the Valknut, which is a symbol of protection. So it's a very, very different image that we've got, a very different impression we get from that card. And likewise here, this is the card of Nied, or Nauthiz, and this is a card of need and also moving through difficulties, and you can really see that with this raft moving along here. Whereas, and also I just want to point out one thing as well. Literally, I'm just noticing we've got the shaft of light, as if the sort of dark clouds overhead are going to move away, and we're moving towards better things. By contrast, the rune vision image is one of tree spirits, and they're sort of intertwined in this great tree here, which is a more difficult image to immediately lock onto the sort of purpose of, I think, in relation to this rune. Beautiful as it is, as I say, I've only had this deck for a few days, so I'm still connecting with it at the moment. But it's very interesting, the differences that we get. Now, the next card we have, another beautiful card. They're all stunning, I think. We have a frost giant, and we have a character encased in a block of ice here. And Issa is very much about being trapped and being sort of stood still, really, unable to move forwards. And then here, the feeling more with this card, which shows the goddess Skadi, is to me more one of hibernation, really. She's sort of sleeping through the winter months. We have the reindeer here, and it's a winter scene. It's almost Christmassy in some ways, apart from, let's say, the goddess up here. Then we have Yera, which is harvest, and you can see the sort of celebration and people drinking and eating their fill, with the trees bursting with fruits, and obviously they've got the figure working in the fields gathering the corn. By comparison, we have the goddess Sif, and quite a simple image, really. We have the goddess herself, we've got the corn around her indicating harvest, and also this scythe, which actually, if you look at the symbol of the rune itself, it's almost like a pair of these going in opposite directions. Then we have, again, the same deity appearing in two different cards. We have, in the card Io, we've got the god Ulla with his bow. And then here he is again. Sometimes, one thing that I would like to point out is that it's really, there's different names that some of the runes are known by. It depends which language you're really using them in. So you may see me or hear me use different names to the ones that are actually listed on the cards. For example, this one's listed as Eichwaz, but there are different names for them. But again, we have the god Ulla with his bow, and this incredible rainbow of the aurora borealis in the sky. It's just beautiful. Then again we have a difference. We have the Norns here, three women spinning out the yarn of people's lives, and we have the triple goddess feeling, because we have the full moon and we have waxing and waning here. By comparison, we do have a moon goddess, a lunar goddess image here, but we have the goddess Fig in the card of Peorth, and again we've got that sort of female goddess, lunar goddess. She's wearing a sort of a lunar crown here. Now this is another card with a great difference. This is the card of Algiz, and you can see the elk here, which and actually we have a Valkyrie riding on this, and here we have the Bifrost Bridge. So it's a very interesting image that we have there. Compare that to, this is a rune of protection, by the way. So this is the purpose behind the image here. The god shown here is Heimdall. whose job it was to guard the Bifrost Bridge and blow his horn at the first sign of danger. It's basically his horn being blown at the approach of danger on the Bifrost Bridge was intended to be, in a sense, the start of Ragnarok, as the sort of the forces of darkness, in a sense, were laying siege to Asgard. And you can see we've got the elk here, but it's a very different scene. And now we have the card or the Rune of Sigil, which is a very sun-based, power-based card. Quite a different image. I'm not entirely sure whether these are both meant to be Balder. Certainly the one on the left is by name, but the one on the right, he does look a little bit older, in fairness. But they've both got their shield, they've both got the sun, so there are similarities as well as differences. Then we have the god of Tyre, shown here with a sort of sacrifice element to it. And here we have a character who has his sword with him, and left-handed in this case, because I believe the myth from the legend goes that it was his right hand that he lost. So that would explain why he's left-handed here. Then again we have a difference, because on the right we have the goddess Berkana appearing in her own rune, with the birch trees in the background, and you can see the rune symbol in the branches here. Whereas in the rune vision card, it's actually the goddess Urd, and we have a swan and a polar bear, or white bear, as the animals associated with this card, which makes sense in a way, because you have the birch, which is a white barked tree. Then we have again a difference. This time in the card of Ekwaz we have Odin on his horse Sleipnir, and he's sort of travelling through, I suppose, the cosmos in a way, indicating the sort of movement that you get with this card. By comparison, we have the goddess Iduna in the other card. You will also notice that the Rune Vision cards have a lot more nudity in them, so I do apologise if you have a slight sensitivity to that. I personally don't find it a problem, but I'm aware that other people have different views on it. And we have Iduna, whose job it was to look after the sacred orchard and provide the apples that would give longevity to the gods. But we also have the horse image and it moving forwards, shown here. Then we have the card of Man, or Manaz, and again a very different, very evocative image here. Almost a sort of goddess casting a spell at sunrise, whereas here we have the Allfather, which kind of shows Odin in his different forms, and we have what I take to be a hawk up at the top here, showing that sort of vision that Odin has, the ability to see all parts of the 9 realms from his seat in Asgard. Then we have Lagu, which has a very, very unusual and evocative image here. This is all about sort of connection, and you really sort of get that connection, and also the sea as well in this card. Whereas here we have the god Njord. We still have the water in here with seals and also a seagull, and we have his tool here, which is the axe. Then another difference, what here we have the god Ing, showing the sort of cycles of fertility, of resting, and then of flowering. And we actually have an eclipse shown up in the corner here. So it's all about the cycles of life and the cycles of fertility. Whereas in the rune vision cards, we have another stunning card, which is the god Frey, who is a Vanir god, and he is the he's the god relating to fertility and to the masculine. We have his boar in the background here, and you can see pretty clearly what he's about. Then we have the card of Deg, which again shows a very different image. To me, this is always about sort of enlightenment and that sort of dawning of a new day, really. I mean, the word means day, and you can see that here with it coming over the mountain. It's very hard. It is incredibly bright, so it's a little bit difficult to see on the camera. And the sort of fire here, which is almost a sort of awakening of the mind. Whereas on the other side, what we have is, it reminds me of the bottom of a longship, really, with this kind of pattern that we have. It's almost like a web, really. And the goddess is Verdandi, so it does rather make me think this is almost like the web of life. And I seem to remember that Verdandi is associated with the future. So, but we still got that dawning effect at the top. Well, we've got the last couple, because these do take a while, even though there's only 25 of them. They do take a little while to get to. Then we have Othel, or Othila, which is about inheritance and ancestry and connecting with your ancestors here. And you can see we've got this sort of family scene with the ancestral home, the hall. Interestingly, they've taken a different approach again with the rune vision cards. We have the god Veli, or Vali. There's an accent on it, so I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that. And here we have a god who is due to inherit the 9 worlds once Ragnarok is complete, how I understand it anyway. If you have more information on that, then please do feel free to comment. And then the final one is perhaps the most interesting one of all, because no, I kid you not, the one on the left is completely blank. It's almost as if they kind of forgot about this one, but it's quite deliberate, I assure you, because it says the blank rune down here. So there's not a lot to see there. On this one, however, they call this card Yir, and it's kind of the card of not knowing, in a sense. It's almost the impossibility of knowing, which they've decided to put a sort of an image to, and the image is quite interesting. We have a moon here and a star on this side, and we have the world tree in the centre. But it's interesting that they actually chose to put an image to that, and in the other rune deck they did not. So just connect these together. So I hope you've enjoyed this walkthrough of 2 rune decks, and that you will post me some comments as always. Let me know what you think. If you have any additional information that you think I need to know about either deck, or the legends, or the myths, or perhaps how to pronounce Old Norse, please feel free to comment and let me know, or contact me. And let me know if you use runes, either cards or carved stones, or runes that you've created yourself. I would be very interested to know that. I want to wish everyone a really happy and blessed evening, and love and light and freeth to all.